We know the situation. You have a task and you don't want to work the work, but the work is so necessary and the output of the work is so necessary, but you hate this stuff. And in the end, you wander and be on Instagram, be on social media, watch other videos, and the only thing you don't do is actually the task that you need to do throughout your whole day. In this video, a biohacker, I explain you exactly how you can control your impulses and emotions and no bullshit. This video is not a fancy plug and play system, it is a video about the mental models you need to understand in order to control your emotions and to control your whole life. So if this is something for you, stick to the video, if not, go away. So in front of me I have a 9-step bullet list created about this topic. And as always, I use research, I use data, I use science to explain you exactly why we don't like to do this stuff, but we love the output. But first of all, I want to understand you why this control, impulse control, is actually one of the most important skills you can have. When you want to be successful, right, you need to do something. You have your goal, okay? Your goal is something high. You think great, you think big, and you want to achieve something. But the problem is you need to do something in order to get the goal, okay? And the more you can control your impulse that hinders you from, achieving your goal, the more you will achieve, and the faster you can achieve, the faster you can move, the more higher goals you can set, and the more you can grow. That is actually the only reason why Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk are richer than you, than me. These people mastered emotional control not over 1 week, 2 weeks, for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, with a few exceptions, few days off, but most of the time they just execute, and that is what we will do. And I can tell you this, after this video it will be easy for you. So therefore, that's that. The first step is you need to understand your hardware, your brain. Emotional and impulse control comes deeply from your brain. And as a biohacker, I research every single day in our physiology, in our neurology, and in our psychology. I actually study psychology, and I can tell you that we have three core systems in our mind that actually help us or hinder us from doing some actions. We have the emotions, that is basically the limbic system. We have the control, that is the PFC, the prefrontal cortex, and we have the translation. And that is literally how we translate the things we have in our mind into reality. So in general, we have three areas. The first two I told you, and the third one is our primitive mind, the primitive monkey brain. You know, this testosterone boosting, sex driven, energized trait of mind, And first of all, I can tell you this, the less you are in this monkey brain state, the more you are willing or the more able you are to control your impulse. That means when you don't always have the sex drive, when you don't always think about women, or when you don't act according to them, or when you just don't crave the sugar or do all of that bad stuff, watch the video, get the dopamine. That is all ways that your monkey brain gets feeded. And that is one thing we want to avoid. So, in general, we want the control. And the control center is our prefrontal cortex. And that is actually the center that helps us to develop control over our actions and not let our primitive mind, get over this. I can tell you this. We have the primitive mind, and that is good because, we need to have the sex drive, the evolutionary drive to evolve, to grow, that is good. But in today's world, we as human beings are cognitive human beings. We can create things. And to get social status, or to be fulfilled with yourself, you want to grow, you want to do things. And that means that you also need to have active prefrontal cortex activity. The problem now is when you are not conscious about this action, you will get crushed by today's society and today's companies. Big companies will hinder you from doing that. With that I mean sugar industry, the social media industry, the nasty video industry, the video game industry, the video live streaming industry. All of these things are not generally bad. You can do this. I don't want to tell you that you should stop doing that. But don't do this when you're working. For example, I love to watch TV shows, okay? So why on earth should I stop doing that? But I never watch a TV show while I'm working, okay? For example, today I have recording day. I will sit here 4 to 8 hours in my room, record YouTube videos, record program videos, and I can only do this because I have this impulse control. You think that is easy for me? No. For everyone who does, great things, hard things, and when you think, man, this must take a lot of effort. This takes a lot of effort. No one who does it, no one who did it, thought, oh man, that was now easy. For example, every great sportsman, every great artist, they ran through this emotional impulse control, and they understand that they have to, control these three systems: emotional control system, the prefrontal cortex, and the translation, our primitive mind. And when we can control with our prefrontal cortex the emotional system and the primitive mind, we are well rounded. So, how can we do this? Step number 2. That is the physiological dominance. And that means that we as human beings have a brain that, runs towards the rules of simple biology. Of course, the human body is the most complex thing, and we don't even understand every single, cause and effect chain in our body, but it is not necessary. We don't need it. The only thing we need to understand is that when we have a predictable and slow and steady hormonal and physiological system, then it is easier for us to predict our emotional control. Okay? So that simply means we don't want blood sugar crashes, we don't want sleep deprivation, we don't want dehydration. Why? Because everything that gives our brain this primitive mind state, like sleep deprivation, we are in hunger mode, we are always hungry, we are dehydrated, we are always in this primitive mindset. We systematically avoid to think clear, think straight, and think in a proper way. What do I mean by that? When we literally kill ourselves in today's world, physiologically and psychologically, with doom scrolling, with overloaded hormones, that is not natural for our critical thinking, and it actually crushes our system, then we can't develop on our prefrontal cortex. That is actually the muscle we need to train. Our brain is like muscles, trainable. The more we use it, the more we use the more we do given tasks, the harder these tasks are wired in your brain and the cause and effect chain, and the easier it is to operate this task. But when you now, are sleep deprived, you are always hungry, you eat always food that makes a mess with your hormones, when you don't hydrate properly, when you don't exercise or don't have enough movement throughout the day, then what literally happens is that you are not even able to be in the state of focusing on your mental work. So this is the base you need to have, because whenever you lack one of these core essentials, your primitive mind will be active, and your primitive mind always wins over your rational thinking. That's the reason why so many people are addicted to these things. That's the reason why these industries are always growing and evolving, these primitive mind industries, because the primitive mind is in general stronger than the not primitive mind, the prefrontal cortex. But when we train our prefrontal cortex, it gets stronger, it can get stronger. Okay? So think of this. We are born with, I don't know, let's say 90 level 90 primitive mind and a level 40 prefrontal cortex. And now you need to avoid to do all the tasks that feed this year, and rather you need to do all the tasks that feed this year. And then you level up, you level up, you level up. And once the prefrontal cortex is even or even higher than the primitive mind, it gets easier for you and you have now the choice over your mind. But to do that, it is very hard. And I can tell you this, it takes 10 and 20 years plus. So I, for example, didn't even reach the point. I know whenever I, fall in one of these high sugar, nasty videos, video games, TV shows, when I fall in these traps, they are not traps. That these things are not generally bad. You can do whatever you want. But when you do this, you need to know that you cut out your growth for this time and you feed your primitive mind. So that means you need to do more cognitive, relevant things over and over again. And the rule is, if your body is unstable, your decisions are unstable. Because your decisions are primitive. So simply fix it. Eat whole foods, hydrate, sleep for 6 to 8 hours, and optimize. And please, no excuse for that. If you have to do one thing after this video, after watching this video, then it should be that. Eat whole food, hydrate, sleep 6 to 8 hours. Optimized sleep with, proper supplements, proper sleep hygiene, proper peptides, proper stuff. Everything regularized, because that is your baseline. That is the healthy baseline you have. And then you can go and move towards control. Okay? So that is the brutal standing point we are now. Step number 3. Step number 3 is recognize the 90-second rule. And that is something really cool I researched recently. Emotional chemical surges last around about 90 seconds. And that is something that Harvard's Jill Bolt Taylor found out. So you don't need to remember that name. After this video, I will not remember this name either. But to give you, your research notes, to give you such a reference. After that, you are feeding the fire with your thoughts. So whenever you have in your mind the feeling, the need for watching a nasty video, for doing something impulsive, after around about 90 seconds of doing nothing about it, it is not the hormonal and, primitive impulse that drives the action. It is your mind, your self-created thoughts. So let's do this instead. Instead of now thinking about topic and, oh no, I need to avoid it, and whenever you have this nasty thought, take a deep breath, breathe out, and do this for 90 seconds. And think about nothing. Think about something good, about something good you did today, about something you will do today, something, you will see your wife, you will, go to gym, have a nice workout, create some nice content. Think about good stuff, and after 90 seconds roundabout, can be 2 minutes, you will not have to feel the urge of doing this impulsive stuff again. So it only takes around about 90 seconds to, not fall for your impulse. That's just a cool side effect. So shut up, breathe, and don't act. Number 4, create friction for impulses. What I mean by that is that entrepreneurs especially, they burn empires on dopamine impulses, right? So they scroll, shout, buy, quit, all of that. The whole selling psychology is all around impulses and driving the primitive mind. All these sales calls are structured around it, about triggering your emotions and don't and getting out of this comfort zone. And that's why these really wealthy and successful people have such a critical thinking and are so hard to emotionally manipulate. They don't fall for the traps that easy. Well, when they can associate it with some childhood thing, and they think they are old, and every single human being can be manipulated. It is just human psychology. We are trained like that. That is just the same that our body needs protein, carbs, and fat. Well, essentially carbs we don't need, but our body needs protein to build muscles. That is simply rules, and so are the rules for our brain, for our psychology too. And when you insert delay those mechanisms that other companies and other things like high sugar drinks actually bring you, then it's way easier. So I have these three things that you should do to avoid that. First of all, is the 24-hour rule before major financial or strategic moves. That is something that you need to consider whenever you think about something big, about something you will buy a car or a high ticket coaching program, and you don't feel that you want to make the decision right now, and the salesman pushes you towards towards buying, then most of the time it's a red flag that you need to, when you think about this rationally, you actually would decline the purchase. So what you now do instead is you actually say, wait, no, we stop here, and you be straight with that. The salesman will try to pitch you and all of that, and then you say, no, I want to decide only 24 hours after I heard about the offer, I heard about the price. I know it's good, it sounds good right now for me, but I'm in an emotional state right now. I can't do anything about this, and I know that you built this up, the scene, and I don't want to break it. I don't want to destroy it. But when the product is actually so good, when when I'm in rational state, then I will buy it. And then you can feel blessed because I will be the best customer because I didn't do emotional purchase. I did a rational purchase and actually want to do it. The next one is that you have your phone not reach in arm range. That means when you are at work, most of the times I would recommend to have the phone away from your house. For example, today, normally I write down all the messages on my phone, all these information, all the scripts on my phone or on piece of paper, yeah. But today I want to do it on MacBook because I didn't want to have the phone in my room. Whenever I have a call, important call, for example, I get it on the MacBook as well, and everything else is blocked, you know, and the phone is bricked in my room, and the brick is in another room, so it is very hard to do anything that is not good for me. And when you can create systems that actually hinder you from doing this, impulsive action that are longer than 90 seconds because of the rule, not 90 seconds, 2 minutes, then afterwards you don't actually want to do it. For example, when bring your mobile phone, that is actually the number one, time killer. When you don't want to use it that often while working, then put it away in your car, for example, that is 2 minutes away from your walking range. And then you go to your car, and while you're going to your car, you think, do I actually need it? No, no, I don't need it. No, come, no, let's go back and go to work. And then it's easy. And that's what I told you. The more and more you do this, the easier it gets for you to react not impulsively, because this muscle of emotional strength and impulse control gets thicker and thicker and bigger, and that means you channel your focus more and more and more towards your actual goal. And once you do this, it actually gets addictive, it gets funny, it gets cool when you know that you have control over your decisions and not your primitive mind. When you actually think you are better than yourself, it gets actually funny. So try this out, please. Number 5, train emotional endurance. So we have this impulse control, this impulse to do something, to eat sugary stuff, but that these are things that can be cleared with proper nutrition, proper sleep, and proper physiological cover. My clients in my program do this, and they say, yeah, well, it's okay. I try it out. I eat now clean, sleep good, and have no worries at all for 2 months straight. But one thing still is there, and that is the emotional endurance. That is the emotional not controllability. The reason for that is that the emotional system is actually one of our strongest systems. It's still stronger than the PCT, and we need to train that too. We need to train our emotions, and we only can train our emotions if we go to drum roll please, through the pain. You need to accept that not only good emotions are good for our mind, for our brain, for us. What is good, what is bad? Good emotions have a part in our body, and bad emotions have too. Okay? But these emotions should not hinder us from achieving our goal. What that actually means is pretty damn easy. We need to train our brain to enjoy bad stuff, or subjectively bad stuff, because we don't want to do the work. That is why you watch this video. That is why you still watch the video. You don't want to do the work, right? And you want to find a mechanism system that helps you to avoid doing the work, but that is not possible. There will be no AI that replaces your work. That is not possible. And if so, everyone else will use the AI and your work will be useless. So you need to push harder and do more and be smarter than everyone else. That is literally how you achieve bigger goal than the average. You need to be better and smarter than the average. So what you need to do now is you need to do hard stuff, things that you don't want. So you schedule things that you do for the next day that you rationally want in the evening. You say, yes, I will do this tomorrow. Then you schedule this in the simple to-do list, and you only finish your day once the to-do list is finished. I have this on my phone every single day. Wait, that was on my phone, but yes, my phone is in another room. Sorry. I have this on my phone every single day, and what that means is I only finish my day once these tasks are finished, once these tasks are done. And some days finish at 3 a.m. And that is something. I don't care about your health, I don't care about your mental health. When you have a strong, healthy baseline, you sleep every day 8 hours, and you have this one day where you have to decide, oh, do I go to bed at 11 p.m. because I do it normally, or do I train my mind? Then always train your mind, but only do this when your when your physical health is actually covered. So try to do the hard stuff, and most of the time it's work. And I, for example, love to do some hard stuff, something hard in the morning, and I do this every single morning, and it is something that gets not easy, that gets actually harder from time to time. I do this, and that is cold showering. Every single morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is going under the ice cold shower. I don't shower normally. The only time I shower is in the evening, warm, to have low body temperature to go to the bed. But in the morning you hate going to ice cold shower, and that's what I do. Hard workouts are pain too, Fasting, for example, is pain too. Choose your pain, but choose your heart, and the heart always needs to correlate with your goal. For example, I need to go to the gym because I'm a health expert. I'm a biohacker. So I need to look properly. I need to have a proper shape, because if I look unhealthy, how the heck should someone else trust me and think that I can make them healthy? That makes sense, right? So if you work in some other area, then you don't essentially need to work out 5 times a week. But some physical movement is good, and having something is also good, but have something that's painful. And this culture is something everyone can do, and I would recommend this to you. So that is the emotional endurance. The next one is that you need to, in order to activate your prefrontal cortex to work, to, actually do something, is to be conscious, to rewire your awareness. And when you watch this video, this niche video that actually no one watches, then where someone is talking now for 25 minutes about a topic that only people who want to change their life and want to, do more and better things than the average human being, um, when you watch this here, then I can tell you that you are most likely aware. But there are levels to that, okay? There are real levels to that. And here's the brutal rule for awareness, for every single awareness talk. Because when I started out, I always thought that I was conscious, I was aware about the things I would do, I was aware about my business, I was aware about my mind, and I nearly burnt out, lost everything, lost my family, lost everyone, because I was not aware and I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. So here's a brutal rule. If you think you are aware, then always, always, always follow this rule. If you can't describe what triggered you, you can't control it. So that literally means this. When you have no reason, no real reason, and you don't describe it, and it actually doesn't, bother you. And when you have a reason, you know how to delete it. You know how to destroy it. And having a reason and being able to describe it is the first step to actually solving the problem. And that is good. That is something really good. So, number 7, channel, don't suppress. And that literally means we as men, especially, we as men have learned to suppress our emotions, or general human beings have, or in general, we as human beings have learned to suppress our emotions, to not act towards bad emotions, to, whenever you feel sad, to not cry, to stay hard, to stay sharp, to stay motivated. But that's not good. You should express your happy emotions, you should express your bad emotions, but not in a direct way. You can channel it. It is not that, you always need to cry when you have to cry, or you always need to shout at someone, whenever you feel like, because that is not good too. We are social creatures, and that is actually not good. But whenever you feel one of these 3 bad emotions, anger, fear, and sadness, do the following. When you have anger, fuel for execution. Whenever you feel angry, whenever you feel bad, whenever you feel, oh man, I hate this man, then whenever you do this, do something. Go outside, go to the gym, work on your goal, because actually, especially for men, anger drives execution. That is a rule. Next up, we have fear. And with fear, we have data for risk analysis. Whenever you feel fear, we can, or, we have the right emotional state to do real risky analysis. Or real analysis, real conscious analysis, real proper analysis. Because whenever we do something, we have this overachieving trait. We think we are better than we are. We think our business works better than it actually does. We think we plan, and we plan this high numbers, and we always think we are better than we actually are. When you have fear, this fear comes from somewhere, and this fear actually channels you towards the real evaluation. And whenever you have fear about something, then say, oh, I fear, let's analyze where it comes from, why I have it, and is it actually real or not? And then you're actually still doing something towards your goal. And the last one is the sadness. And whenever you are sad, you can't act towards something, and sadness is a signal to fix your recovery. Whenever you're sad, whenever you're tired, whenever you're about to cry, crying for once is good, but crying every single evening is a sign that you need to do something else, something different in your life. That A, your goal isn't really your purpose, or B, the work you do for your goal isn't really your purpose. Whenever you feel sad, whenever you feel tired, whenever you feel you need to cry every single day, well, besides you're a pro bodybuilder and you have a body fat percentage below 8%, whenever you feel sad, then you need to rethink your actions. So, real people don't, or real men don't numb their emotions, they redirect them into leverage. And that's what you should do. So, step number 8 is you need to, in order to achieve all of that, what I, tell you, what I told you previous year, what I told you in this video, what I will tell you in every single video. In order to achieve it, you need to build an environment that doesn't trigger you. For example, the car scenario. For example, with the food. Don't have, high sugar food or sweets in your refrigerator, in your fridge, in your shelf. Don't do that when you have a problem with that. Whenever you have an addiction with nasty videos, block yourself from every nasty video page, or even shut down the device you regularly watch it, or channel this drive, this primitive need towards action. Whenever you feel this, do something different. So your brain actually now, whenever it feels this primitive, this primitive action, the process needs to be changed to get a different output. For example, your brain wants to play video games. The output your brain wants is actually dopamine. That is what your brain wants. Dopamine, craving, nice, good feeling. But your brain doesn't care about the process it does, okay? The process can be trained. And of course, the process is evolutionary created in the most efficient way. So that's why we love playing video games more than we love, working. Because working gives us low dopamine and less dopamine, and video games more. Our mind and our body is actually phenomenal and smart. But now we use it that we have no other choice than working. And when we only have the choice of working, so we channel all this dopaminergic fuel towards work, and then everything gets easy. So when you have a system, and that is step number 9, that you treat yourself like a system. Not every day you are human. Emotions should be monitored, but when you have systemized, planned days, no morning routines, uh, no 5-hour morning routines, but morning routines, and not all these feeling and let your feeling on and your impulse control your day. No, your morning routine controls your day. The actions you have on your list controls your day. The action you do, the hormones that are released towards your actions, the goal you have, feed your energy. The pre-written scripts for sale, for example, these things should be your go-to, not the how I feel today and yeah, I wrote down that I should do 100 emails, but I only do 40 because the number feels nice today. No, you wrote them down yesterday, and yesterday you were in a rational state of mind, and that means you're actually capable of doing that because, of course, sometimes you will, overreact, but when you always do the task you say yourself you do, that is when emotional impulse control can be achieved. So have calendar, have tracker, have automations, have everything in place. Avoid or not even give the bad stuff a chance to appear, and then the things are good. This video gave you everything you need to know about impulse control, okay? And If you now are still unable to have emotional control or impulse control, then A, you didn't listen properly, or B, you haven't tried it for a long enough time. Then it's not a 1 day project, not a 2 day project. Everything great needs time. But when you trust in the process, the results will come. And I would recommend you to watch the video again, take some notes, and if not, act. That's the most important thing. No video is valuable for you. These 30 minutes have no reason if you don't act accordingly. I tell you this from the bottom of my heart as a biohacker. Thank you for watching this video. Stay healthy.